was it like? It was, I mean, they had a little problem in the first half. They eventually overcame Seton Hall, but what was it like in the Garden to witness this today?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a situation where St. John's came in, TJ, as a 21.5 point favorite. Seton Hall's in last place in the Big East. Obviously, we got a big story up here where Kadari Richmond, who was the number one player in the portal, transferred from Seton Hall to St. John's to play for Rick Pitino. And that's been kind of a dominant storyline for both teams all season. And Kadari said going into the game, he wasn't really too excited about clinching a Big East regular season championship against his former team because he's got friends and coaches over there. So St. John's went in as a big favorite. Seton Hall hung around the whole game. They were only down 4 at the half. It was close down the stretch. St. John's pulled away, and then the confetti dropped, and they gave him a trophy. The Big East, Dan Leibowitz from the Big East, gave St. John's a trophy, and it's really remarkable. This is year 2 of Rick Pitino. Everybody knows that he's got a track record in his second year at every stop of dramatically improving the team. They've won the Big East for the first time in 40 years. I mean, there's some crazy numbers on this guy. This guy has now led 5 different schools, TJ, to a regular season league championship. And this is the 6th different school he's taken to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Now, he did say something interesting, and you were writing this on NJ.com and the Zags blog. They were not going to cut the nets down with the ladders. Yeah, they had the confetti, they had the trophy. The conference wanted to do that. But he has bigger aspirations, just in year 2, bigger aspirations than let's cut the nets down for a regular season title, right?
Yeah, I think that was a story at my colleague Zach Braziller at the New York Post. Sometimes writers need something to write about. So he wrote the other day that St. John's should cut the nets down after a regular season championship. Rick tends to poll his players on these things, ask them what they want to do. So Pitino asked his team. They said no. They still have a game against Marquette this week. And obviously their bigger goals are to cut down the nets at the Big East tournament in a couple weeks, excuse me, where they secure the number 1 seed. And then obviously to make a deep run in March Madness.
Yeah, that would be the idea behind it. Okay, again, full credit to St. John's for what they have done. I got a couple more subjects on the Big East. So UConn won early in the day at Providence. Also Villanova, Eric Dixon, a big night. They won tonight. But Xavier might be the other big story of the day with what they did to Creighton this afternoon in Cincinnati with a wipeout win in the second half. Zach Fremantle had a huge game. You've seen Xavier. What do we make of that here in Big East play on this Saturday, real quick?
Yeah, I mean, for most of the year, TJ, the thought has been the Big East was just going to get 4 teams in: St. John's, Creighton, Marquette, and UConn. Xavier and Villanova have kind of been on the bubble here for the last month. And Xavier is really kind of pounding, knocking the door down. And I think on a bunch of brackets, they're now, last 4 in, that kind of thing. Villanova still, I think, has a chance to get in, but they're going to need some help on the bubble. And look, Sean Miller, everyone knows, tremendous coach, great coach. Like Rick Pitino, has had some issues in the past, but they've both moved past that, and that's a huge win for them to beat Creighton by 20 plus. And now, of course, it's all about jockeying for seeding in the Big East tournament. St. John's is the 1. UConn right now is the 4. Xavier is the 5, which means that you could have a 4-5 quarterfinal matchup Thursday at the Garden between UConn and Xavier, Dan Hurley, Sean Miller, and then the winner right now would get St. John's on Friday night in the semis.
And again, for Xavier, they had a 10-point loss to St. John's at home back in January, and then also an 8-point loss at St. John's in the second matchup between those two teams. And that is fascinating that the UConn third game could come in a semifinal on Friday night. Stay tuned at the Garden. That would be wild.
Yeah, that'd be a monster game. I mean, we're looking ahead a little bit. It's still possible UConn could move up to to the 3.
Right.
Creighton obviously lost, but Dan Hurley had beaten Rick Pitino 4 times in a row, and now Rick has beaten Danny twice in a row. So if they could play a third time on Friday night in the semis, that would be primetime TV.